Hello and welcome back to the show, World War II Books Where to Start. I'm your host, Captain Frederick John Walker, on board my destroyer, HMS Starling, as we're about to hunt down another nasty U-boat and eliminate the threat to England. But in the meantime, let's talk about some U-boat books. As I was cruising through the library the other day, this thing jumped off the shelves into my arms, said, "Take me home, you want to read me?" So I did, and I may, but I may not. Also, this is from 2022, Lawrence Patterson, never heard of this guy before. He's done one other book on naval stuff. And what turned me off right away is just flipping into the blurb on the front left flyleaf here. This claims to be the first complete history of the U-boat war in its entirety. Stop. False assertion. Craptastic. I can't abide that kind of hype. It's just patently untrue. This is an Osprey publishing thing, so I may go through it, I may not. It doesn't seem like it has a really good angle to go from. U-boats were everywhere, from the Arctic to the Indian Ocean and off the shores of Japan too, as they did a little liaison-y thing with the Japanese Navy. Meh. I don't really think it's going to add much to the literature on U-boats. So there's that. All right, then spinning backwards back through time, let's go to the late 80s with Torpedo Junction from Homer Hickam Jr., 1989, 328 pages. And off the east coast of America again. So, most of the U-boat stuff in America, off the Americas, is in 42 that you're going to find. It's just where the main action was. They did briefly return to the American coast, I think in 43, but with no success because by that time defenses were just too strong for them, and the boats had not advanced technologically. So it just was a loss leader right there. So this is adequate, but not great. This is the only World War II book he ever did. He has written a lot of novels and some stuff on the space program. So as a one-off for historical writing, it's adequate. It's well researched, adequately read. Not a great read. Not a page turner. I kind of plodded through it. He juxtaposes the entire struggle on the Eastern Seaboard with the story of one particular ship, the USS Dione, a Coast Guard cutter, I believe it was. And the Dione's experience was kind of prototypical of the anti-submarine patrols. A lot of humdrum, a lot of water, some whale sightings, picking up wreckage, picking up bodies, but not a whole lot of actual combat. So I think that kind of contributes to the meh feeling I got when I was done with it. I've kept it, and I may reread it, but I'm not entirely thrilled with it. So 3 stars. It's okay. Then something that's really, really good. Black May by Michael Gannon, author of Operation Drumbeat. Surprise. So this is coming at us from, oh hell, I didn't write down the year. It's later though. Then Operation Drumbeat, and this is May of 43, when we pretty much broke the back of the U-boat force. 41 boats were sunk, I believe, overall. The start of the story here is convoy ONS 5 outbound to Halifax, or outbound to Nova Scotia. Up near the Arctic Circle, the defending escort commander was Peter Gretton, who I've covered his memoir in another video. And Black May is just fantastic. I didn't think that much of the first time I read it way back when, because I was overwhelmed by the number of U-boats, number of commanders, and the action going back and forth. But the second time through, much better read now in the conflict and naval stuff, I was able to keep track of it far better. I think he does a fantastic job here. Focusing on ONS 5 as a microcosm of what was going on in the Atlantic as a totality from May. And he does cover that. He's got a chapter on the Bay of Biscay and other U-boats losses elsewhere in May. So it's really well done. It's far better than Drumbeat. There is one downside to it, the chapter involving German U-boat crewmen who were POWs in the U.S. and their taped recordings. He recapitulates a lot of their dialogue between each other as they're sitting in the stir there, just passing time, shooting the bull. That's a tedious chapter and doesn't add a whole lot of anything to the story. I felt it could have been cut out entirely and have been a much cleaner presentation. You could skip that chapter and really not miss anything. Overall, really good. And then Hitler's U-boat war, Clay Blair, The Hunted, 42 to 45. This is part 2. It was published in 98 to the tune of 711 pages. This time we have 20 appendices, plus notes and index. So this is the real complete history of the U-boats. As I mentioned before, he's thorough, he's exact, no mythology, no sensationalism, no bull. We're going to cover technology again, U-boat conferences, war conferences, the Enigma stuff, and the increased decoding and availability of Enigma flow almost in real time, plus the Huff-Duff triangulation of U-boat positions. As one of the primary faults of the U-boat force in the war was that it couldn't shut up. Doenitz and his headquarters could never shut up. They were chattering to their U-boats constantly, and I mean all of them, all the time, all over the place, thinking they were secure in their communications, and only occasionally getting suspicious about their security and asking the Enigma experts in Germany, hey, do you think this thing could be cracked? Nope, not at all. We'll just add another rotor and things will be hunky-dory. There's no way this thing could be compromised. Not realizing that the Allies had a couple of machines they had captured from German U-boats and a German trawler way back in 40, I think it was. And we worked on it. We just had the better technology, the better resources, and better scientific minds to crack the Enigma, which after all was a commercial ciphering system developed in the late 20s, early 30s, and sold commercially to the Poles, who gave it to the British. The Germans should have been aware of this and understand that it wasn't as secure as they thought it was, but just a gross oversight. So that's well covered, along with the development of German anti-radar detection devices. This was their answer to being bounced by aircraft with radar. They got a detector. Okay, it's kind of like your radar detector in a car now. Guess what? It can be jammed, it can be worked around, and they were very crude. The earliest editions weren't even like actually manufactured onto the U-boats. They were wood. The Biscay Cross originally was actually a piece of wood and metal that you would haul up the conning tower, the wire dangling down into the ship, and stick on the front of the bridge there. And when you had an alarm, you had to grab it, throw it down the hole, and 5 or 6 guys would tumble down on top of it and break it every time. Crudeness in an extreme. They never really tumbled onto the idea, hey, we need actual search radar on our U-boats to be effective. We're still relying on line of sight and aircraft reporting to find these convoys. Sometimes they'll break silence and we'll be able to fix their position. But otherwise, we're really dependent on just actually eyeballing the ocean, hoping we find a convoy. That's a major contributor to their lack of ability to win the U-boat war, along with the fact they're really fighting with slightly upgraded World War I U-boats. They're hot rod models of the Great War stuff they went to war with. They're not actually developed, to the point where it's an evolution. It's just a refinement on what they had. They in no way compare to the American Gato class or the Balao class. Not at all. Not even close. Even though their surface speeds are kind of similar, their underwater speeds are kind of similar, but technologically and capability-wise, no, they're not even close to American boats. So he goes through all that, and he covers the climatic convoy battles, the really famous ones in 42 and 43, and no excessive detail. It's just the facts, ma'am. And then he breaks it down analytically afterwards, proving again and again that statistically these massive convoy battles were no better for return per U-boat than any other convoy battle. They all averaged out to about the same effectiveness. And once we broke their back in May of 43, they were never the same again. They were done. We cooked their goose. And that was it. And so the next 2 years, they're just going out and dying. And that's the tedium of the book here, as engaging and thoughtful as book 1 is. Book 2 is the same format, but the drudgery of patrols, no sinkings, or lost with all hands goes on and on and on, because they lost 780-ish U-boats during the war, somewhere on that figure, and the bulk of them came from late 42 onwards. So you're going to get that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Sunk with lost all hands, sunk with lost all hands, sunk with 2 survived. No sinkings, no sinkings, no sinkings. Patrol boarded, bounced by aircraft. That gets very tedious. I won't kid you about that. It's a struggle to get through. I made the mistake when I originally bought these things, reading them back to back. Don't do that. Give yourself some time to breathe and air it out a little bit, then come back to this. This is going to be difficult to to wade through, but I feel it's absolutely vital for the history of the war, for the history of the U-boats, and ending the mythology of we almost did it. We were very close to breaking the lifeline, forcing Great Britain to the negotiation table. Never happened. Couldn't have happened. So that's it for U-Boats Part 2 today. I hope you find one of these you like to read. And come on back for another time, another vid, another topic. And until then, happy reading.